The first time my ex walked into Vale Bridal after breaking my heart, she was holding another woman's hand. Lauren saw me behind the fitting room desk and smiled like she had planned the moment down to the second. The woman beside her was tall, polished, and wrapped in the kind of effortless confidence money usually buys. A diamond flashed on her left hand. "Emma," Lauren said brightly. "Perfect. You're working today." My fingers tightened around the appointment tablet. 3 months earlier, Lauren had ended our 4-year relationship by telling me I was too cautious, too ordinary, and too easy to leave. Now she had booked the most expensive bridal appointment our boutique offered and requested me by name. "Welcome to Vale Bridal," I managed. "Which one of you is the bride?" Lauren's smile widened. "Sloane is. We're getting married in 6 weeks." Sloane gave me an apologetic look. Lauren did not. "I told her you would understand my taste better than anyone," Lauren continued. "You spent years imagining what my wedding would look like." The words landed exactly where she intended. A few consultants near the dress racks went quiet. My coworker Nina stopped arranging veils and stared at Lauren, as if calculating whether a crystal display stand could be used as a weapon. I forced myself to look at the bride instead of the woman who had brought her there to watch me bleed politely. "Do you have a silhouette in mind?" "Something unforgettable," Lauren answered for her. "Sloane deserves to know what it feels like to be chosen properly." That was when a low, controlled voice came from the staircase behind me. "Then you brought her to the wrong consultant." Every person in the showroom turned. Victoria Vale stood on the last step in a black tailored suit, one hand resting lightly on the brass railing. She owned the boutique, the building, and 3 other luxury bridal houses across the city. She was also the coldest alpha I had ever met. Victoria never raised her voice. She never needed to. Designers stopped arguing when she entered a room. Wealthy clients remembered their manners. Even the scent of her, cedar, winter air, and something darker underneath, seemed disciplined. Her gray eyes moved from Lauren to me. Then she crossed the showroom. "Ms. Vale," I whispered. She stopped beside me, close enough that the warmth of her shoulder reached mine. A slim silver chain disappeared beneath her collar. Victoria lifted it, drew out a black diamond ring, and broke the chain's clasp with one precise pull. Before I could ask what she was doing, she took my left hand. Her thumb brushed once over my knuckle. The touch was gentle. The look she gave Lauren was not. Victoria slid the ring onto my finger. It fit. "Emma is already taken," she said. "By me." The entire boutique went silent. Lauren's face lost its color. Sloane looked between us, suddenly, much more interested in my hand than in any wedding dress. I should have corrected Victoria. I should have laughed, removed the ring, and explained that my terrifying alpha boss had apparently suffered a temporary break from reality. Instead, I curled my fingers around hers. "If your boss did that in front of the person who broke your heart, would you expose the lie or play along?" I played along, and it changed everything. "You're engaged to your boss?" Lauren asked. Victoria's gaze remained on me. "She hasn't announced it yet." There was a question hidden inside the sentence. I could feel it in the slight pressure of her hand. I looked at the woman who had once told me nobody ambitious would ever choose a life with me. Then I looked at Victoria, who was offering me an escape without demanding that I take it. "We wanted to keep it private," I said. Something flickered in Victoria's eyes. Approval, surprise, or possibly the first crack in the universe. Lauren recovered quickly. She always did. "That was fast. You barely knew each other when we were together." "Some people recognize value quickly," Victoria replied. "Others lose it and only notice when someone else picks it up." Nina made a small choking sound behind the veil display. Sloane touched Lauren's arm. "Maybe we should go somewhere else." "No," Lauren said. Her eyes stayed fixed on my ring. "We have the private salon booked." Victoria released my hand but remained beside me. "Nina will conduct your appointment." Lauren's jaw tightened. "I requested Emma. Emma is unavailable." "For what?" Victoria finally looked at her. "For anything you want from her." Lauren left 20 minutes later, without trying on a single dress. The glass doors had barely closed before every employee in the showroom turned toward us. Victoria glanced once around the room. Back to work. They moved instantly. Nina moved more slowly, walking backward toward the veil display, with both eyebrows raised so high they almost disappeared into her hairline. Victoria looked at me. My office. Please. The please somehow made it more frightening. I followed her upstairs, still wearing a ring worth more than everything I owned. Her office overlooked the showroom through a wall of smoked glass. It was as controlled as she was. Dark wood, cream walls, one vase of white roses, and no object placed without purpose. She closed the door, but left the privacy shade open. I held up my hand. Would you like to explain why I'm wearing your ring? Victoria loosened one cuff. Your former girlfriend was humiliating you in front of my staff, so naturally you announced an engagement. It was the fastest available solution. Firing her from a cannon would also have been fast. For one impossible second, Victoria's mouth almost curved. The building has restrictions. I stared at her. Was that a joke? No. It absolutely was. I looked at the ring again. The black diamond was old cut, surrounded by tiny pale stones that caught the office light. Why did you have this around your neck? The amusement vanished. It belonged to my grandmother. I immediately reached to remove it. Victoria's hand closed over mine. Don't. Her voice came out lower than before. We both went still. Lauren will tell people, she continued, releasing me carefully. Her fiancé's family owns Calder Events. They are managing our winter campaign and half the weddings on our calendar. By tonight, the engagement will be gossip. If we deny it immediately, she gets exactly what she came for, another public humiliation. Then what are you suggesting? Victoria walked behind her desk, putting distance between us. 6 weeks. Until the Calder wedding is complete, we appear together when necessary. Afterward, we say we ended the engagement privately and respectfully. I laughed because the alternative was screaming. You want me to fake an engagement to my boss for 6 weeks? I want to correct a problem I created, while protecting your position here. You could issue a statement. Lauren would call it a lie. It is a lie. Victoria's eyes dropped briefly to the ring. Yes. She said it too quietly. I removed the ring and placed it on her desk. Thank you for defending me. But I don't need another woman deciding what my life should look like. Her face changed. Not much, but enough. Understood. I made it to the door before she spoke again. For what it is worth, Emma, you were never ordinary. My hand froze on the handle. I turned, but Victoria had already lowered her eyes to the papers on her desk. The ring lay between us like a question neither of us knew how to answer. By 6 that evening, a photograph of Victoria sliding the ring onto my finger had appeared online. Lauren had not posted it. A client in the second salon had captured the moment and sent it to a bridal gossip account with almost 500,000 followers. The caption read, "Ice Queen of Bridal finally chosen." My phone became unusable. Nina read the comments aloud until I threatened to throw her into the alterations room. This one says your children will be terrifyingly well dressed. Stop. This one wants to know if the wedding will be at the Vale estate. Nina. She lowered the phone. This one says Victoria has never publicly dated anyone. That made me look up. Never? Not since I started here. Not according to the internet either. Nina leaned against the cutting table. Why did she have a family ring around her neck, Emma? Because people carry sentimental jewelry. Why did it fit you? Coincidence. Why did she look at you like Lauren was lucky there were witnesses? I returned to pinning a hem. You're enjoying this too much. I watched you spend 4 years making yourself smaller for Lauren. Let me enjoy one afternoon where somebody made the room smaller for you. The photograph reached Calder Events the next morning. Sloane's mother called Victoria personally. She congratulated her, offered to feature our love story in the winter campaign, and mentioned that Lauren had questioned whether Vale Bridal was professionally stable. At noon, Victoria called me into her office again. The ring was on the desk. Beside it sat a single-page agreement. 6 weeks, she said. No private contact outside agreed appearances, no physical affection without permission, no effect on your employment, salary, or future opportunities. You may end the arrangement at any time. I read the final clause. You're offering me a promotion when this ends. I was preparing to offer it before yesterday. Head of Junior Design? You have been redesigning our failed samples for 2 years. Half the dresses clients request changes to are actually your work by the time they leave. I stared at her. You knew? I know everything that happens in my business. You didn't know Lauren was my ex. Victoria's jaw tightened. That was personal. I do not investigate my employees' private lives. But you noticed my designs. I noticed you. The office became too quiet. She looked away first. The promotion is not payment for pretending to be engaged. It is written here so you know I will not punish you professionally, regardless of what happens. For 4 years, Lauren had treated every sacrifice I made as proof that I had no ambition. Victoria had noticed sketches I left unsigned in the alterations room. I picked up the ring. What is our first appearance? Her eyes returned to mine. Dinner with the Calder family on Friday. I slid the ring back onto my finger. Then we should probably learn enough about each other to survive dessert. Friday evening, Victoria arrived at my apartment exactly on time. I opened the door and forgot how language worked. She wore a black evening coat over a charcoal dress that followed the clean lines of her body. Her hair, usually twisted into a severe knot, fell in dark waves over one shoulder. Her gaze moved over me, slow enough to make my pulse stumble. The blue, she said. I looked down at my dress. What about it? You chose the blue. You've seen this dress before? You wore it to the staff dinner last December. I had spoken to Victoria for less than 30 seconds that night. You remember what I wore 11 months ago? She held out her hand. We're late. It was not an answer. The Calder dinner took place in a private room above an art gallery. Lauren and Sloane were already seated when we arrived. Lauren's eyes dropped immediately to our joined hands. Victoria's thumb brushed my skin once, a silent check. I squeezed her fingers to tell her I was all right. Dinner became an interrogation, disguised as celebration. How long had we been together? Who made the first move? Where would we live? Had we set a date? Victoria answered every question smoothly until Sloane's mother smiled and asked what first drew her to me. For the first time all evening, Victoria paused. I expected a safe answer. My kindness, my work, a convenient lie. Instead, she looked directly at me. She sees what people need before they ask, she said. Then she makes it look effortless, so nobody realizes how much of herself she gives away. My chest tightened. I noticed her because she was the only person in the room who never demanded to be noticed. Lauren's wineglass stopped halfway to her mouth. I forgot we were pretending. Under the table, Victoria's hand rested near mine but did not touch it. I closed the distance myself. Her fingers curled around mine. After dinner, Lauren cornered me outside the restroom. She's using you, she said. That's an interesting concern from you. Victoria Vale doesn't fall in love with employees. Women like her collect beautiful things and lose interest when the season changes. You don't know her. Lauren laughed softly. Neither do you. The words stayed with me because they were true. On the ride home, Victoria sat beside me in the back of the car, watching city lights move across the window. You're quiet, she said. We need to know each other better. Her eyes shifted toward me. For future dinners? For convincing lies? Something in her expression closed. Of course. So we began with facts. She hated cinnamon. I loved it. She had studied architecture before taking over the boutique when her grandmother became ill. I had learned to sew from my mother, who believed every torn thing deserved at least one careful attempt at repair. Victoria slept 4 hours a night and pretended it was enough. I watched old cooking shows when anxious. She kept the boutique's first handwritten receipt framed inside her closet, where nobody could see it. I sketched wedding dresses, but had stopped imagining myself in one. Because of Lauren? She asked. We were sitting at my kitchen table with untouched tea between us. It was supposed to be a 30-minute preparation meeting. It had lasted 3 hours, because wanting something she didn't want made me feel foolish. Victoria's gaze lowered to my hand. Wanting to be chosen is not foolish. Easy for an alpha who terrifies entire rooms to say. Being feared and being chosen are not the same thing. The honesty in her voice made me look at her differently. Why have you never dated publicly? She touched the silver chain at her throat. It was empty now. My family treated relationships like mergers. My grandmother was the only person who thought love should feel like freedom. And the ring was hers. She gave it to me before she died. She said I would know when it belonged somewhere else. My heartbeat became painfully loud. Victoria, you handed it to me because you were angry at Lauren. Yes. She held my gaze. That is what I keep telling myself. Our second public appearance was a winter campaign photo shoot inside the boutique. The photographer, Lena Ortiz, was talented, charming, and completely unimpressed by Victoria. She adjusted my shoulders, tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, and told me the camera loved me. Across the room, Victoria became so still that even Nina noticed. Your fake fiancé looks ready to fire the concept of photography, Nina whispered. Lena positioned me beside Victoria, beneath an arch of white roses. Closer, she instructed. Victoria placed one hand at my waist. Heat moved through the thin fabric of my dress. Closer than that. I stepped into her. Victoria's breath caught so quietly only I heard it. Lena looked through the camera. Emma, look at her like she's the person you were waiting for. Victoria, look at Emma like someone is about to take her away. Victoria did not need direction. The intensity in her face emptied my lungs. Her fingers tightened at my waist. The showroom disappeared around us. Perfect, Lena murmured. Now kiss. Victoria's eyes changed. That was not agreed, she said. It's an engagement campaign, Lena replied. People expect a kiss. I should have stepped away. Instead, I whispered, You can. Victoria searched my face. Are you sure? Yes. Her hand lifted to my cheek. She touched me as if the permission mattered more than the photograph. Then her mouth met mine. The kiss was supposed to last 1 second. It lasted long enough for my fingers to curl into the front of her jacket. Long enough for Victoria's restraint to fracture into something warm and hungry. Long enough for the camera to stop clicking because Lena had already captured more truth than we intended to show. When Victoria pulled back, her forehead almost touched mine. Emma, she said softly. Nina cleared her throat from somewhere behind the lights. The showroom returned all at once. Victoria released me and walked upstairs without looking at anyone. I followed her 5 minutes later. She stood by the office window, both hands braced against the desk. That cannot happen again, she said. The words hurt more than they should have. Because I work for you? Because you work for me? Because the arrangement is temporary? Because I do not know whether you kissed me or the woman you needed Lauren to believe I was. I wasn't thinking about Lauren. Victoria closed her eyes. That makes it worse. Why? She turned toward me. Because I wasn't pretending either. For 3 days, we spoke only about work. Then the boutique's heating system failed during the first snowstorm of the year. Everyone went home except Victoria and me. I stayed to move delicate fabrics away from a leaking pipe. She stayed because she would never ask an employee to protect something she was unwilling to protect herself. By midnight, the showroom was lit only by emergency lamps. Snow pressed white against the windows. Victoria found me sitting on the fitting room platform wrapped in a velvet display cape. She handed me a cup of cinnamon tea. I looked at it. You hate cinnamon. You don't. She sat beside me, leaving a careful space between us. I owe you an apology. For the kiss, or for acting like it was a natural disaster? Her mouth almost curved. For asking you to perform a relationship while pretending I had no feelings inside it. The storm hummed against the glass. When did the feelings start? I asked. Victoria looked toward the dark showroom. Your second week here. A bride tore a sample dress and started crying because her mother had called her body embarrassing. You repaired the fabric, altered the design, and stayed with her until she could look in the mirror without apologizing. I remembered the bride. I did not remember Victoria being there. You watched that? From the stairs. That was 2 years ago. I am aware. My pulse climbed. Why didn't you say anything? I was your employer. You were in a relationship. Wanting you did not give me the right to disturb your life. The cold alpha everyone feared had spent 2 years protecting a boundary I never knew existed. I reached across the space and took her hand. And now, her fingers closed around mine. Now I am trying very hard not to confuse your gratitude with love. What if it isn't gratitude? She turned. We were close enough that I could feel her breath. Then wait until this arrangement ends, she whispered. Ask me again, when the ring is not protecting you from anyone. If you still want me then, I will answer honestly. She lifted my hand and pressed one restrained kiss to my knuckles, directly beneath her grandmother's ring. That was more intimate than the kiss in front of the camera. It was also the moment I began to fall in love with her. The next 3 weeks were beautiful and unbearable. Victoria brought breakfast when she knew I had skipped it. I learned to recognize the tension behind her eyes before a difficult meeting. She asked for my opinion on the spring collection and listened when I disagreed. I started leaving cinnamon tea in her office just to watch her drink it without complaint. Lauren saw us at tastings, fittings, and the Founders' Ball. Every time, her confidence weakened, but revenge stopped mattering. I no longer wanted Lauren to believe Victoria loved me. I wanted Victoria to love me when nobody was watching. 1 week before the wedding, I went upstairs to deliver revised sketches and heard Victoria speaking to her lawyer through the partly open office door. The engagement ends after the Calder event, she said. Emma's promotion and ownership percentage must be finalized before then. I want it legally impossible for anyone to say her career depended on a personal relationship with me. My heart dropped. And the ring? The lawyer asked. Victoria was silent for a moment. It returns to the Vale estate. I left before she could see me. The engagement ends. The ring returns. Every tender moment collapsed into the clean language of a contract. Victoria had warned me from the beginning. 6 weeks. A temporary solution. I had simply turned professional kindness into a love story because I wanted one badly enough. That evening, I placed the ring on her desk. She looked from it to me. Why are you returning this now? Because Lauren's wedding is next week. The arrangement is almost over. Something happened. Nothing happened. That's the problem. Victoria stood. Emma, you were right. I should wait until the ring isn't protecting me. Now it isn't. Pain flashed across her face. You misunderstood what you heard. I heard enough. Then let me explain. I wanted to. Every part of me wanted to stay until she found words capable of making the ending disappear. But Lauren had taught me what happened when I waited for someone else to decide my value. No, I said quietly. I need to choose myself before I ask anyone else to choose me. Victoria did not stop me. That hurt most of all. On Lauren's wedding morning, the boutique became a controlled disaster. Flowers arrived at the wrong entrance. One bridesmaid's zipper broke. Sloane cried because her mother hated the veil. Nina handled the bridal party while I remained in alterations, finishing the last stitches on Sloane's gown. Lauren found me there alone. She wore a white tailored suit and the satisfied expression of someone who thought the universe had corrected itself. No ring, she observed. I kept sewing. The engagement ended. I told you she would get bored. I set down the needle. Victoria never made me feel small, not once. Whatever happened between us, do not compare yourself to her. Lauren's smile disappeared. You still love her. The truth settled inside me without panic. Yes, saying it did not make me weak. It made everything clear. Lauren looked toward the finished wedding dress. You know, I booked this boutique because I wanted you to see that leaving you was the right decision. Was it? She did not answer. You came here with a bride who loves you, and you spent 6 weeks watching another woman look at me. I don't think I'm the one you needed to convince. For once, Lauren had nothing to say. The ceremony was being held in the glass conservatory above the Calder Hotel. I went only because Vale Bridal supervised final dressing on site. After Sloane walked down the aisle, I slipped into the service corridor, ready to leave. Nina caught my arm. You need to come upstairs. The dress is fine. This is not about the dress. She pulled me toward the reception level. The ballroom doors were open. Guests stood beneath thousands of suspended lights. Victoria waited at the center of the room. She was not wearing her usual black. She wore deep blue, the exact color of the dress she had remembered from 11 months earlier. Conversations faded as Nina pushed me gently through the doors. I stopped several feet away. What are you doing here? Correcting another problem I created. Her voice carried through the quiet room. Lauren appeared near the head table, furious. This is my wedding. Victoria did not look at her. Then for once, Lauren, pay attention to your bride. Sloane covered a smile. Victoria stepped toward me. The legal agreement you overheard was not an exit plan. I transferred part of the design company to you and removed myself from direct authority over your position. I stared at her. Why? Because I needed you to know that if you chose me, it would never cost you your independence, and if you rejected me, it would never cost you your career. The room blurred at the edges. She stopped in front of me. The first ring was impulsive. I put it on your hand because someone was hurting you, and I wanted her to stop. Then I kept pretending the arrangement was temporary, because wanting you felt too much like taking advantage of a moment when you were vulnerable. Her controlled voice shook. But you were right. Nothing happened. I never told you that I have loved your kindness, your courage, your impossible cinnamon tea, and the way you repair every damaged thing except yourself. I never told you that every time you walked away from my office, I had to remember why I was letting you. She reached into her pocket. The black diamond ring rested in her palm. This ring belonged to the only woman in my family who believed love should feel like freedom. I told myself I gave it to you by accident. Victoria's eyes held mine. I lied. Nobody moved. The first time I put this ring on you, it was to protect you, she said. If you let me put it on you again, it will be because I love you. No contract, no performance, no audience required. Lauren gave a bitter laugh from behind us. You expect everyone to believe this is real? I turned toward her. 3 months earlier, her opinion would have decided whether I could breathe. Now it felt distant and surprisingly small. I don't need everyone to believe it. I faced Victoria again and held out my hand. I need her to mean it. Victoria's expression broke open. I mean it. She slid the ring onto my finger. It fit exactly as it had the first time. But now nothing about it felt borrowed. Are you choosing me? She asked softly. Every day, if you'll let me. Her hand rose to my cheek. May I kiss you? Please. She kissed me in the middle of my ex's wedding reception, but it did not feel like revenge. It felt like the end of needing revenge at all. The room applauded. Nina cried loudly enough to embarrass both of us. Sloane raised her champagne glass. Lauren looked away. Victoria kept one hand against my face and whispered, "Still think you're ordinary?" I smiled through tears. Ask me again when there aren't 200 people watching. I'll ask you every morning. 6 months later, my first bridal collection launched under my own name. The final dress in the show was made from ivory silk with a deep blue lining. I called it Chosen. Victoria watched from the front row, wearing a cinnamon-colored tie Nina had selected purely to annoy her. When I walked onto the runway, after the final model, Victoria stood before anyone else did. She never hid her pride in me. She never asked me to become smaller so she could feel larger. And when we disagreed, which happened often, she listened without turning love into leverage. We did not marry immediately. That surprised everyone except us. For 1 year, we learned how to be real without an audience. We burned dinner, argued over closet space, survived collection deadlines, and discovered Victoria stole blankets with the same ruthless efficiency she brought to business negotiations. Then one quiet Sunday morning, she found me sketching at the kitchen table. "Is that your wedding dress?" she asked. I covered the page. "You weren't supposed to see it." She set a cup of cinnamon tea beside me. "I have been waiting 3 years to see it." I looked at her. 3 years? Victoria went very still. 2 years before the fake engagement, 1 year after. I laughed, pulled her down by the front of her robe, and kissed her. We married inside the original Veil bridal showroom after closing. Nina stood beside me. Victoria wore blue. I wore the dress I had once stopped allowing myself to imagine. Before the ceremony, she fastened her grandmother's ring more securely on my finger and asked the question she had promised to ask every morning. "Still think you're ordinary?" I looked around the room where Lauren had once brought another bride to prove I was easy to leave. It was the same room where Victoria had taken my hand, made one reckless claim, and then spent every day afterward proving she meant it. "No," I said. "I think I was waiting for someone who knew the difference between possessing me and choosing me." Victoria smiled, the rare, unguarded smile she saved only for me. "Good, because I will choose you for the rest of my life." The first time my ex came to buy a wedding dress, she wanted me to watch someone else receive the future I had once wanted. Instead, I left that day wearing a ring from the woman who would become my real bride. And the dress Lauren bought was beautiful. Mine told the better story. If you want to hear what happened when Lauren tried to return to our lives 1 year later, tell me in the comments. But be warned, Victoria was much less polite the second time.